Hi, I'm Laurie, also Calvertfilm, and this video is a very short video just outlining some of the ways that I do weathering. There's many different ways, these are just the ways I do it, so look at other people's videos, not just mine, and make up your own mind as to how you want to do things. Because it's only a short video, I'm just going to go over a few things fairly simplistically really. Now I do weathering two ways usually. I use a brush and I also use a spray or airbrush, spray gun or airbrush or spray can. Now this is a brush I use. It's very tiny, very pointed, got protective cover, and I use that with some silver or orange, which generates a rusty colour once it's weathered on. And this is a Citadel paint, it's an acrylic, so it's water based, so if you do it wrong you can wash it off, which is the big advantage of using acrylics. Now this is called Solar Orange and it's one of a range of paints that Citadel do. I also use these. Now these are blacks. One of them is a base colour, a solid colour, and the other one is what they call a shade. And that's a wash. It's very thin down, but the advantage of using that rather than this just watered down is it's always consistent, and there's also something in it, I'm not sure what, but it really does give a very good sticky, even consistent finish. It doesn't go globular sometimes like this does if I water it down. This gives a really perfect finish every time. I use this wash a lot. It's called Enamel oil, and this is the solid version. Both acrylic, so you can wash them off. Now you can mix those into spray guns, airbrushes, or you can paint things with those using a regular brush. Okay, so on to airbrushes and spray cans. Now sometimes I use a spray can. You can use a modelling spray can, or you can use a car paint. Now obviously car paints are designed to do larger areas, so they're quite fierce compared to these little modelling cans. So what you need to do is direct the spray below the model and just get it glancing the model at the edge, at the top of its spray, and then you can very finely add a little bit of weathering. I use greys and blacks usually. And that's quite good if I quickly want to weather a few wagons and I just want to do it rather simplistically. It's quite effective actually. Now these are cellulose paints, they don't wash off with water, so you only get one go really. So practice on something that's not too important first. This is a Humbrol spray, it's matte varnish, and this is good for spraying over things once you've painted them and you want to seal them in, because of course with a water-based acrylic spray it can wear off with your fingers. Your fingers are slightly moist, so over time it could wear off, so you really do need to seal it. Also there are weathering powders which you can brush on, and these are basically like makeups. In fact they may even be makeups. You could even use makeups, but these are just powders, they won't stay on, so you do need to coat it with something like a matte varnish to give it a matte finish and to seal it in. When I started off with airbrushes I bought a very simple cheap one for £10. Now this adapter screws onto a propellant can. These propellant cans cost about £7, and if you're only doing a little bit of airbrushing this may be worth doing, but if you're doing a lot of airbrushing you really need a compressor. Now there's various advantages to compressors, because I had not one, not two, but 3 cans, because as I'm spraying the pressure alters, they get cold, and in the end they're not very effective and you have to swap cans. It's a lot of mucking about really. With a compressor, which is a device which gives a continuous airflow, you'll get a much more steady stream of air and you won't have to worry about the cans, you just have to keep filling up the paint. So this I've got with a fairly cheap airbrush. I'm going to be giving this a go soon because I've only just got this yesterday. This is a gravity fed airbrush, the paint goes in that gravity feed at the top there, and this compressor goes through that pipe, connects on the bottom, feeds the air in. The air sprays through past the paint and sprays it on. Should be quite nice, this. Now this compressor also fits on my old airbrush. Let's put it up that way. I was using cans with this, but I'm now going to use it with a compressor. So I've got two airbrushes. These are very similar. With my very old first airbrush, all that does, you just push the button down and it sprays. You've got no adjustment in the airflow other than the amount of pressure you twist on and off using that little knob, and the paint flow is regulated by turning up and down that nozzle. The other two airbrushes, they're a little more sophisticated, and these are really what you're after. You can actually vary the airflow using the valve, the control button on the top, by moving it backwards and forwards, and that will really help you to add a different flow of paint over your model. This is when the paint goes watered down about 50-50, I suppose, for acrylics, but again you need to practice. Spray on a bit of cardboard first, just make sure it's giving you the sort of coat that you want. If it's too watered down it might go globular, if it's too thick it won't come out very well, so you need it just right. So I'm going to be using this new airbrush soon with the compressor. That should give me really good results. If I paint with acrylics, then I'll need to seal it in using something like a matte varnish. I've also recently used a satin varnish to get it more matte. I put it outside in the garden in the cold weather. It seems to go matte. The cold weather, I don't know if it's the temperature or the water, but there's something about it, it makes it go matte. So that's a little tip worth remembering. I also use, let's not forget, trusty old enamel paints. This is a flesh tone, best flesh tone that I've seen. I tend to use this, but you can mix it, vary it a bit with some white or yellows just to create different tones, whatever colours you want. And that, I think, is about it for now. But if you've got any comments or suggestions, please feel free to add them on this video. Also, of course, bear in mind there are £200 airbrushes out there, really sophisticated ones for doing very fine detail work, very fine airbrushing, and rusty streets you could do with those. To me, if it's all airbrushed, it can tend to look a little bit manufactured, so I prefer to use brushing, stippling with the brush, different techniques of brush work along with the spray gun. And for me, the airbrush, spray gun and brush mixed together give the best results, but it's up to you, see what you like. One other quick thing, this is Humbrol matte coat. You can put that into your airbrush and spray that on. That also does the same job as the matte varnish. It will seal it in. And you might not need to seal in your weathering, it depends how much it's going to get handled. I hope you'd enjoyed this video. Feel free to post your ideas and comments below. Thanks a lot.